Well, I got involved with Ted's program. It was kind of roundabout. I was reading one of those Rich Dad books, and they talked about tax liens, and I didn't know what it was. I didn't understand it, so I Googled it. And Ted.Thomas's name kept coming up. And so then I clicked on a couple of the little videos, and I watched some of his little blurbs, and I thought, no, I really need to learn more about this. So I bought a couple of his guidebooks.
Well, she realized that, when we had the baby, that she really didn't want to go back to work. So she actually was looking into something to contribute to the family. And she found this, and it sounded really good. And she does her research, like always, in anything she does. So I was there supporting her all the time.
Well, being a Canadian, I knew there would be more hoops to jump through buying property and selling property in the States. I did some research, and Ted.Thomas on the Success Club membership he's got all the information you need to know about investing, buying, and selling in the States. As for buying, those counties want to take your money. That was not an issue. They didn't even care I was from Canada, so that wasn't an issue. Getting a bank draft in American funds, not an issue. I haven't sold the property yet, and all I need is a tax ID number. And as far as I'm concerned, that's not that hard to get either. I'm actually in the process of getting it right now. So it's not difficult to get. So it'd be easier if I was from the States, but I'm not. So there's a little more work involved, but it shouldn't be a deterrent. I went to the King County auction in Washington. It's in the Seattle area. I chose that auction because Ted.Thomas was bringing a group of students there, and I thought it would be a really good opportunity for me to go and learn from not only the coaches that were going to be there, but from the other students who were going to be there as well. And I thought it would be a really good networking program, and hopefully pick up a property while I was there. Crystal had this form printed out, but it's got a spot where you can actually, on the drive-by, it reminds you what to look for, and it's really good form. And when I went and looked at the property, I wrote on it, and I marked all over it and made little notes. He was just over 2 months old when we went to this auction, so he came with me, and my mom came with me to watch Levi, and my husband was working. So before I went there, Bill and I had done some research, and we narrowed down the list, and I knew I wanted to look at residential lots. I wanted to look at ones that had utilities. I wanted to look at ones that had houses on either side and that were in kind of more the urban areas. Well, I narrowed down my list to, it was about 40 properties from the original, I think it was 260. When I started, so then I narrowed it down to about 40. And then when I got to the actual the county there, and we started doing some research and looking, and I got super picky, and I started cutting off properties off my list. When I got to the auction, I only had, I think, 15 or 18 properties on my list. So I'm sitting there, and I bid on quite a few. There was several I bid on, and then they just went way up and over what I was willing to pay. So I was pretty, by this point, I was kind of telling myself, don't be disappointed if you don't get one. It's not a big deal. So I'm sitting there, and I had just told myself this, and then this property came up, and I'm like, well, I'm not going to get it, so I'll bid. So I bid, and then no one else bid. I'm like, oh no, what'd I do? So I ended up getting it, and I walk up there, and I'm telling myself to put one foot in front of the other so I don't fall, and my knees are shaking, and I had a hard time signing my name because my hand was shaking so bad. And this is what I took to the auction. I took this picture. Yeah, so this is the lake that it's on, and it's very pretty. I bought a 1.38 acre lot. And it's a really cool lot. I got it for minimum bid. It was scary getting it for minimum bid. I didn't know why no one else was bidding on it because it was a pretty good deal. I picked it up for under $9,000 and it was assessed at $119,000. And I actually took this with me when I went and looked at the property so that I could kind of get a reference. I knew the address of that triangle piece in front of me, but this way I knew, I could get a reference of what I'm looking at, because vacant lots, they don't have addresses most of the time. So I valued the property. I gave it a C. In the neighborhood, I gave a B+ because it's a really good neighborhood. So that's really important too for selling it. There is a creek, right? Yeah, not on my property, but just behind it. But then you got to be careful about creeks too, because then you got setbacks, and that's what I looked into when I bought this, is that there's no setbacks, so I can actually build on this lot. It's actually a pretty big size lot for what's around there. So I'm market value. I have a realtor doing an actual market valuation for me, but looking on Zillow and trying to get a kind of a comparable, I'm looking about 80 or 90,000. I won't sell it quite that high because I would like to, in the perfect ideal world, I would like to sell it to the person who's in front of me, that house in front. I would like to sell it to them, and I would be more than willing to give them a good deal on that. I really liked going to the live auction. I liked the dynamics in the room. I liked the anticipation, and it was really fun. I liked that I could personally view the properties. So that's a big, pro for live auctions. I was being very conservative because it was my first auction and I was pretty nervous, but next time I would definitely, look at more properties if I can. We were a little crunched for time, but and the Seattle area is kind of hard to get around because you've got water and you've got mountains, and so I definitely recommend when you go to a new area, take someone to drive or navigate, or so that they can concentrate on that and you can concentrate on what you want to, taking pictures and, the things you want to look at. So I really recommend that. And always have a backup. Take your GPS, take your phone, take anything you can, take maps, have a backup for your backups. It's very important because our GPS quit halfway through, but luckily we had another GPS. I think people avoided this property because when you looked on the parcel map, it looks landlocked. There's a property right in front of it, and all around it is land that doesn't have houses on it, so it looks like you can't get to it.
That would be a flaw a lot of investors would look at and say this is landlocked.
And I actually scratched it off my list. I wasn't going to look at this one. But the day before the auction, most of my properties had been redeemed. So I was stuck with 2 properties left. So I'm like, well, I got to add some more. So I added a whole bunch more, and that I had originally scratched off just because I was being too picky. And I was looking for that perfect property. And so I put this one back on, but I still wasn't really liking this one, and I knew that I would have to see if there was access to it, if there was some sort of easement. So, but I thought, well, I'm in the area, I'll go look at this one. So we drove by it, and it's actually on the other side of the road is a really super cute little lake. And there's houses all the way around it, and they're nice houses. And the drive up there, it's all pretty pristine little horse farms and little, 10-acre little hobby farms. And I did my research though, and I found out that there is an easement on the property in front of it to allow access to it. So it is buildable, and it's a big lot. It's fairly flat. It slopes a little bit, but it's fairly flat, which is a big deal in the Seattle area. So no, it seems to be a really good deal.
I want to point something else out that might have scared off other investors. And I know this is hard to see because of these lines, but this is the triangular lot. And if you look at the backyard, it's already intruding in this lot. Yeah. So there might be a really good opportunity to sell this property to this owner who wouldn't want to have no backyard now. So this is a hot prospect that I know you're looking into.
Other reason I really liked this property was because when I looked up Zillow and tried to look up recently sold things, there's nothing sold in this area, like nothing. There was one property that was sold 2 years ago. So it's a very good area, it's a very stable area, people want to stay there. So there was nothing for sale. It was really hard to find comparables.
I did really well with this last deal. I mean, it's not over yet, but I spent just under $9,000, and I'm gonna make between $40,000 and $60,000 on this deal. So my goal is to not go back to work when my mat leave is over. So I'm really motivated to do it. So right now I'm treating this like my job. So if I want to get out, a huge amount of profit out of this business, I need to put in some effort. So I just make sure that I put in at least an hour or two a day.
I support her. I know she's going to do good with it. Everything she puts her mind to, she gives it 110%, and she always comes out on top. So I have no doubt in my mind she can do this.
And if I can do this over and over and over again, our life is going to change. We are going to do a lot more traveling and a lot more just living our own life. We want to live our lives as our lives. We don't want to work on someone else's time and dollar, making money for someone else and spending our time doing it. So we'd really like to take control of our own life. Well, us working together should turn out pretty good. We work well together, and it would be really nice for him to not have to work, and we could travel and we can do the things that we want to do. We can go down, do his archery tournaments and do my horse shows and buy property at the same time and write it all off. And it would definitely be a pretty cool life, I think. This is very easy to learn. It really is. It's not rocket science. It's, you buy property. I'm buying tax deeds, so I'm buying property that people haven't paid their taxes on. And so the county seizes them and sells them at an auction. And they sell them for just the cost of the back taxes. It is too good to be true, but it's definitely true. My next goal, find a place that has an auction, start researching properties, and find someone to go look at my properties for me. This is addicting. I'll tell you that right now. When you start making money, it's addicting. I cannot wait to get to that next auction, and so it's definitely changing our life.
And to anyone out there who thinks they can't do it, if Sam can do it,
Anybody could do it.